Good morning. I'm Sarah Mitchell from Helping Babies Sleep. I'm a sleep consultant with 8 years of health education training, and I've been empowering tired and frazzled parents to get their kids to sleep by educating parents on age-appropriate sleep needs and sleep training options. And today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 reasons your baby won't sleep through the night. So first, let's talk about what does sleeping through the night even mean, because there are a variety of definitions out there. And often in that early stage, let's say 0 to 3 months, sleeping through the night often means a 6-hour stretch. But as your child gets older, sleeping through the night means more of 11 to 12-hour stretch, because after 4 months, you'd like to see a longer stretch of sleep. Not to say that there's not night feeds in there, but your child's in her sleeping space, sleeping for 11 to 12 hours at night. So my definition of sleeping through the night is 11 to 12 hours. And when can that start happening? Well, it can start happening early on, but there may still be night feeds. So let's talk about night waking. So why is your child, waking up so much? Are you still feeding? Are you having to put a pacifier back in? What's happening with that? Why is your child not sleeping through the night? Because I know it's really exhausting. That fractured nighttime sleep is really rough long-term on a parent. Okay, so let's talk about, let's for the purpose of this conversation, let's imagine that your child is, 9 months of age. So why is your child still waking up frequently at night? Well, there's 3 reasons. One is that your child is overtired, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. The second is that your child has a sleep crutch. And the third is maybe she's just not ready. And we're going to talk about, what's reasonable for those amounts of, those stretches of sleep without having a feed. Okay, so let's talk about number 1. Your child is overtired. What does that mean? Well, I have an awesome sleep chart that shows you how much sleep your child needs by age. So it includes, how many naps, how many hours of overnight sleep, and how many hours of nap. And it gives you a total 24-hour. So one great thing that you could implement right away if you're struggling with sleep is start logging your child's activity so you can see how close she is to those recommended daily totals, right? When your child isn't getting enough naps or enough overnight consolidated sleep or is fracturing her nighttime sleep, this puts her into what we call the overtired zone. And when a child is overtired, the implications of that are taking a long time to fall asleep. So I remember in particular, my son was overtired and it would take me like 40 minutes to rock him to sleep. And then he would wake up 20 minutes later. So trouble falling asleep and then staying asleep are signs that your child is overtired. Some of that has to do with timing of sleep, but also, after a few days of not getting enough sleep, that's when you get into this really awkward overtired cycle that can be really hard to break. The other implications of being overtired are those frequent night wakings. So a child, like all humans, surface through the nighttime. Think about yourself, you reposition yourself, you roll over, check the clock, and you go back to sleep. But imagine for a little baby who's not getting enough sleep, who took an hour to fall asleep, and is just tired overall. She surfaces from a sleep cycle and she thinks, I'm so tired, why am I awake? Ah! And it's harder for her to relax herself, back down into sleep. So being overtired, one of the reasons that your child won't sleep through the night. So it's a vicious cycle that kind of catches up with her day over day by not getting enough nap time in, staying awake too long between sleep periods or before bed, and then those fractured nighttime sleep. All right. Hey, if you're watching and if you have any questions, please feel free to write a comment and I'll get to those at the end. The second reason why your child won't sleep through the night is that she's got a sleep crutch. Have you ever heard the term sleep crutch before? It's also called a sleep prop or perhaps a poor sleep association. And what it means is that your child has something external that she uses to help relax herself into sleep. So when I was going through this, we had a few, and you can have more than one. We had a few. So we would either nurse my son to sleep. Sometimes we tried the pacifier to get him to sleep, and very often we rocked him to sleep. So my husband actually got tendinitis from swinging him in the car seat so much. And so what happens is then when your child surfaces from a sleep cycle, either at a 45-minute nap or a 3-hour nighttime sleep cycle, she needs or he needs that same sleep crutch that helped him fall asleep to relax back down into sleep. Very, very common sleep crutches are nursing to sleep or bottle feeding to sleep, but also touch is a sleep crutch. So having a child fall asleep on you, or even just co-sleeping is another very common sleep crutch. And so then when your child wakes in the night, she needs that same crutch to help her fall back asleep. Okay, so we talked about the first reason, which is that your child's overtired. We talked about the second reason, which is your child has some sort of a sleep crutch. One really simple way of trying to help your child improve on sleep is to look at the chart that I'm going to put in the comments and focus on timing its sleep and getting her down before she's overtired. I don't know how many people in my Facebook group have commented how much the chart has helped them just make gains with timing and getting longer stretches of sleep. Okay, are you ready for the third reason why your child won't sleep through the night? It may be that she's just not ready. Okay, and let's talk about what's reasonable, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there, trying to get little babies to sleep 12 hours a night. So this is my perspective from my experience, being a chiropractor, being a trained chiropractor, where we take, 8 years of health education, anatomy, physiology, child development, all those courses, and also my over 5 years of helping parents get their kids to sleep. So this is a very general statement that I'm going to make here, but exclusively breastfed kids really need to have solids well established, and that means 3 meals and 2 snacks a day before they can sleep 11 hours without any kind of nighttime feeds. And that happens around 8 to 9 months. Yes, there are outliers, for sure. There will be kids that will be a little bit later, and there'll be kids that'll be a bit earlier. And there's variables that affect that, right? Like, are you a stay-at-home mom and able to nurse frequently through the day and get those calories in? Or are you a working mom and you're pumping, and so you're offering a bottle? Or are you on formula? There's all kinds of different things. Is your milk really fatty? Those are different things that can affect it. Have you shifted some of your calories into the night? So I commonly work with people who co-sleep, and it was more out of desperation maybe than preference, and now they have like a 9-month-old who nurses every 3 hours through the night and takes both sides. And is that hunger? Well, definitely the calories have been shifted into the nighttime, but is there things that we can do to improve that? Absolutely. Okay, so exclusively breastfed kids. Can they sleep 11 hours? Again, it's really closer to 8 to 9 months once solids are well established. What about formula-fed kids? Can they go earlier? They can, yeah. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that it's easier for a parent to track ounces on formula or bottled milk through the day to give them confidence that they've set their child up for a successful night. If you're exclusively breastfeeding, sometimes it can be hard to know, and you can have self-doubt, right? Sleep training, when we do sleep training to remove the crutches so that your child can learn some self-soothing skills, we're training the child, but we're also training the parents as well, right? What is reasonable? Have you set yourself up for success? And that type of thing. The other reason that formula-fed kids can sometimes go earlier through the night, so maybe 11 hours around 5 to 6 months, again, there's variation there, is that the formula does have a slower transit time through the intestine, but also, again, going back to that point, that they often know exactly how many ounces that child has had. They're more on a feeding schedule, they're getting regular feeds, their calories aren't necessarily through the night, but in the daytime. And often formula-fed kids have less what we call sleep crutches. So as I mentioned before, nursing to sleep is a really common sleep crutch. And formula-fed kids in the night, when they wake, well, the parents have more confidence. They say, well, I know he ate this much at this time, and through the day, he's already had 24 ounces today. So this can't be hunger that's bugging him. I'm going to try other methods to help soothe him back to sleep. Or I'm going to leave him for 5 minutes and see what happens. And so it takes a longer, they don't get this, those formula-fed kids don't get the same instantaneous response, if you will, as a mom who's breastfeeding, who can just, take out a breast right away and feed and get everybody back to sleep quite quickly. So there's a little bit of that at play too. Okay, so just to recap, the 3 reasons why your child won't sleep through the night. One is that she's overtired, not getting enough sleep over 24 hours. Or that she's staying awake too long between naps or before bed. So just to give you a little information on that, so let's say, for example, a 4-month-old, her maximum awake time, that's the time that she can comfortably stay awake between sleeps before she gets fussy and harder to put down, is about 1 hour and 45 minutes. It can be shorter at the first awake time of the day. A 6-month-old, that extends to about 2.5 hours. By 9 months, we're looking at about 3 hours, and it goes up from there. So if you're having like a 4-hour awake time for your 6-month-old before bed, you're putting her at a greater risk of having night wakings, early morning wake-ups, and trouble falling asleep. So timing is so important. The second reason your child won't sleep through the night is she has some sort of a sleep crutch. So something external that's helping her fall asleep. So then when she wakes up through the night, then she needs that same thing to fall back asleep. She needs it, or she thinks she needs it. And inadvertently, we've actually, trained our kids how to fall asleep in those first few months without really knowing it, because we just don't know. I did the exact same thing, right? We nursed him to sleep, and then he needed to be nursed back to sleep constantly through the night. My son was 20 pounds at 4 months, so you can imagine how much nighttime nursing I was doing with him. And then the last reason for why your child might not sleep through the night is that maybe she's just not ready. So in my experience, exclusively breastfed kids need solids to be well established with 3 meals and 2 snacks a day, and that usually happens around 8 to 9 months before you can get those 11 to 12 hours of sleep. And for formula kids, it can definitely be earlier. Thanks for watching. I hope I've answered your questions. Please, I'll put the link in the comments to my sleep summary chart by age. And you should know that I also host a free Facebook group called Ask the Sleep Expert with Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and where I answer general questions about sleep. So I created this group because I want to be able to answer those questions, those quick questions that I can answer in like a Starbucks line while we're waiting for coffee. So they're general questions. If it's really specific, I don't feel responsible answering those questions because I don't know all your history, what you've done so far, your child's weight. There's so many more variables. So general questions about sleep, I am more than happy to answer on my sleep Facebook group, and I'll post the link to there below. All right, have a great day.